Trees are like the grandmother guardians of the whole earth. They are also considered the sentinels, the major sentinels of how Mother Earth communicates with everything that is beyond her, cosmic-wise. The trees bring in cosmic energy, starlight, moonlight, all that energy. It brings it through photosynthesis and what also happens at night. The plants are no less important, but they are smaller. They are smaller, so they have a more focused importance in relationship to so many things.
The Vidal Speaks podcast.
Episode 62, Barry Kapp, using medicinal aromatherapy and essential oils for healing. Welcome to Vidal Speaks. My name is Deborah Vidal, former 11-year LPGA golf pro turned classical homeopath, certified plant-based nutritionist, and wellness coach. Each week here on Vidal Speaks, we bring you knowledge, inspiration, or natural remedies to help you take charge of your health and feel your best. I believe health is freedom and knowledge is power, so tuning in each week will give you the power to take steps towards freeing yourself from the chains that hold you back from having the energy to do all you want in life. No matter where you are in your journey of wellness, Vidal Speaks can help. I promise. Hi everyone, welcome back. For those of you that are new, and we have a lot of you guys these days, I'm so grateful. Welcome. I'm Deborah Vidal, known to many as Vidal, and this is my podcast called Vidal Speaks. It's here on this show that I speak about many different subjects that have to do with health. Health is a broad topic, and I like that because there's so many aspects to being really healthy, and I wanted an open door to speak about it all. It's here where I tell you about the lies that we're all fed about food, environmental misinformation, and of course the commonly practiced treatments that harm us, even when our own doctors and organizations, the ones that are supposed to have our own interests at heart, tell us that they're safe. I expose the truths because it's my job to educate you, so you too will not be a puppet of the organizations that use all of us to make their millions, and the cost to us is often our lives, so my job feels very important. Hence my desire to grow the show so huge. I can't do it without you guys though, so every day you share it, I just want to thank you. The movement is growing and you all know how much I want to reach that million as soon as possible. That's because there's so many people out there sick and we need to get a handle on this fast. Once we learn the truth, then we can make the choices based on knowledge. And you guys know that I always say, knowledge is power. Also, you'll learn here that many of the things that you've been told or that we've had pushed into our heads by the multi-million-dollar campaigns that work hard to program us so we can make them rich are not only wrong, but flat out dangerous to our health. So I'm super happy that you guys are learning and that I can share with you so many ways that you can take charge of your life and turn your health around. Plus, to me, health is not only about us because we need a healthy ecosystem to survive. We need our wildlife, our oceans, our air, and our water to live because we're not here alone. But what's so cool is that when you focus on getting you healthy because you're going to eat a plant-based diet, then you also save the planet in a very drastic way. And to me, that's a win-win. Well, today's show is going to be fun because you get to hear from the man whom the trees speak to, and they have since he was a child. His name is Barry Kapp. Barry is a medicinal aromatherapist, which means he uses essential oils of plants and trees to heal people. You know how much I always tell you about essential oils. Well, Barry's the expert. I was very excited to find him and have him agree to speak to us today. It's a long interview, so I'm not going to talk too much now because you're going to hear about his journey and how he got there. You'll also learn about what aromatherapy is and why he believes so much in the essences of plants and trees. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Barry first. Barry Kapp is the founder of Wisdom of the Earth. He is an accomplished healer practitioner who consults with clients in person or by Skype on aromatherapy use for both humans and animals. His wife, Cynthia Olivera, is also a certified medical aromatherapist and a movement yoga instructor, and she and Barry do transformational body work together, utilizing the oils and their intuitive gifts to work with clients in moving forward with grace and surety in their lives. Barry Kapp has studied aromatherapy in Turkey, France, and Israel, and shares his learning in seminars and through his own medicinal aromatherapy practice. Barry's mentors have included the trees and the plants, along with many great teachers such as Kurt Schnaubelt, PhD, Daniel Penoel, MD, Dr. Pierre Franchomme, PhD, Malte Hozzel, PhD, and Claude LaPraz, MD. Barry has completed extensive training in many physical modalities and integrates them with essences in his consultations. He has studied and practiced herbology for 35 years, guided by a father who was a self-taught herbologist, prospering health-wise for 85 plus years. Formerly, Barry was a dairy and cash crop farmer, and he used herbology to treat his animals, and they in turn taught him many truths about all beings' true connection to Mother Earth. With that said, are you guys ready? Okay, let's go talk to Barry now and learn, relax, and enjoy the storytelling in this one. Hi, Barry. I've been on a search to find the right person to teach us about the power of essences and essential oils, and I loved your story and your work, so I was thrilled you agreed to be on the Vidal Speaks podcast. So thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be able to share my heart with you and whoever is listening, and we will go from there.
Yeah, well, let's start. And the first thing I want to know, because I want to know how you got started on this journey of aromatherapy or essential oils or essences.
Okay, so I'm going to have to get a little cosmic here in order to do that. So here we go. From a young age, I was called to come to the surface of Gaia. I did not know that until I was about starting 9 or 10 years old. I began to realize that there was something very different from my perspective of things, even at that age, which has to do with peace and love and harmony. And I remembered many, many things about that. And I chose two parents that were very, very close to the plant and tree kingdom and Mother Earth, that generation back in the middle 40s. 46 was when I was born. And with that, I began this journey. Of course, it's always unfolding. Whenever souls come here, all of us accept a certain level of amnesia. Otherwise, there would be no reason to do this journey, because from my perspective and my heart, we all originate from love, and there is no such thing as the illusion of polarity and duality, fear and love constantly. That is actually a lie and an illusion. So that, skipping many, many things that I even write in my book, Wisdom of the Earth Speaks the Truth About Medicinal Aromatherapy, I am at the place today where after over 50 years, I have been walking with the plants and trees. They speak to me. That's one of the gifts that I was given, starting with my mother and my biological physical mother. And with that, I share the messages from the plants and trees to anyone who is interested. We're not hard selling. We're not competitive. We stay in our lane. And therefore, for over 20 years, Wisdom of the Earth has been actually sharing this love and support via pure single essences, and they have truly been an amazing help for so many. And the only reason that we know this is because of emails and letters and telephone calls and personal contacts of confirmation of what this or that particular essence did for them in changing their whole life. The first being spiritually, the second being emotionally, and the outworking from there equals the physicality, the problems that all humans have. And of course, we work with animals too. I'm a retired dairy farmer and cash crop farmer. I've had many, many animals, and so that works for that also. But our main thrust, our main focus is always humanity, because that's what we are. We're humans.
Yeah, and I'm understanding that your mom and dad were a kind of herbalist. Did they use aromatherapy or oils or essences in their time?
Well, in that generation, how would you say, the resurgence, the renaissance of medicinal aromatherapy was still in Eastern and Western Europe. I'm talking about the early 1900s when they first arrived. But they chose a path of very, very distinct self-teaching and understanding from their grandparents and their great-grandparents, all about the herbs, the herbal part, because they had no access to the distillation that was lost. I mean, there are indigenous people here in this country way, way back that knew about this. But when that was lost, they went back to fresh and dried herbs. And so that's what I was taught. That's what my father and mother taught me.
Well, it's really nice to connect with people that have this gift as you do, because I know it seems, as a person who now is getting older, and I look back, my grandparents were from England and Spain and Puerto Rico. The ones from Spain moved to Puerto Rico, but I didn't really get to know them. But I heard a lot of stories of my grandmother in England. She was very good with plants, and if someone would get hurt, they would do poultices and things like this. So I think it was like much more known and passed on, and that seems to be going away. So it's really wonderful. That's one of the things I love about what I do. I get to connect with like-minded people and feel all the goodness in the world. So it's really fantastic that you've been in this for so long and had this calling. And I want to ask you more about that. But maybe before we even go there, can you just give us a description or maybe a proper definition of what exactly is aromatherapy?
Okay. So that is like so many modalities of healing, and even outside of the healing realm, there's so many different stages and levels and legacy and journey of what the plant and tree kingdom in the form of single pure essences in this country in English and in all the English-speaking countries, England, Australia, Ireland, a lot of Scotland and so forth. They'll use the word an essential oil, or the two words. In this country, we have found it to be very, very confusing. There's still so many American people that they don't know the difference between a nut oil such as sesame seed or almond or hazelnut or olive oil or rosehip oil. They don't know the difference because they've been distanced from this for so long. And they have been programmed to feel that they are not capable of taking care of their own health. They have to go to what I call a different type of religion, but a religion nonetheless, that you have to have a type of savior known as the traditional allopathic medicine and the drug companies. And that's what American people have been programmed. However, I'm here excited today to tell you how vastly that is changing and has been changing since the early 90s. And we certainly are a representation of that as we get busier and busier and busier. So the actual clarification of medicinal aromatherapy or aromatherapy and many different things, it's just simply this, Deborah. Aromatherapy is, yes, the prefix is aroma, and that means using your nose and your olfactories, but that is only the prefix. The therapy, the aromatherapy, has to do with not just the smell, which of course Somebody could say, well, why don't you pick a different name? Well, perhaps someday that will happen, but right now we have to play the game that we have. So it's called aromatherapy, which means that you have therapy with smells. But that is a misnomer, not from the standpoint that you don't smell and you absolutely can get benefit through your olfactories, through breathing. It's like breathing oxygen. And that's one of the beautiful things about pure single essences, not blends, but pure single essences that are not adulterated. You are actually breathing in highly oxygenated, harmonized chemicals that make up a lavender plant, that make up a rosemary, that make up a pure rose. And so that is just the beginning. The second that's not even addressed in that word is that as soon as you put it on topically as one way of getting it into your bloodstream, within minutes, sometimes between 10, the international standard through the years has been between 10 and 17 minutes, it goes through your dermal, your outer molecules, your fat molecules and your H2O water molecules that are on the surface of your skin, and it is pulled into your outer blood capillaries, goes into your blood, and then and let me be very clear on this, because essences from the plants and trees are conscious, they are actually conscious, they have the amazing ability to commune on a molecular intelligent level with the molecular intelligence of the body and the molecular intelligence of the bloodstream. And they then decide what they're going to work on first, and then they do what they do, which can go out into many, many questions as to what it is. So aromatherapy is the aroma, the smelling. It's also the topical application of the essences, which is going to have the greatest residual over and above even smelling. And then if the essences are pure, you can ingest them, which is, oh my God, there's so many people that go crazy over that, especially,
I know. That's so true.
especially the aromatherapy from the fear paradigm. We have to understand and be kind and be compassionate that there are many people that are becoming aware that there's something better than drugs, and when in doubt, cut it out, surgery. There is like the Chinese medicine, it's over 5,000 years old, and surgery is still at the bottom of the list. They do many other things before they'd ever think about doing that. So we're one of the most cannibalistic societies left on the planet, I'm sorry to tell you. And I know people don't like to hear that, but I would say, let me extract that word, not cannibalistic, barbaric, in
For
that
sure.
we just have been programmed in that pain is okay. We're addicted to pain on emotional and spiritual levels, not just here, all over the world, but we're here in America. It's a great country, it's beautiful, and there's many exciting things that are happening. But when people step out of the template of the AMA and the drug, the pharmies, and they would like to look for something else, but they don't do their emotional and spiritual work. What they do is they bring along the template of fear and what if, and they bring that into the aromatherapy arena, which truly has no place because the plants and trees are completely a separate entity, a separate universe, if you would like to say it that way, from what humans have been programmed. Now, if there are humans that are brought up, like the indigenous people, like the Maori, that are still keeping to their own, I'm not talking about those that have gone with white medicine, are out here in our area, the Hopis, the Diné, which are the Navajo, they'll always say, well, we're using white man's medicine. And then today, my understanding up in Tuba City at their hospitals, they literally now have opened the door that they have their shamans come in that do herbal medicine, and the natives that are sick that go to the hospital, that is the Diné or Hopi hospitals, that they have a choice. They can do white man's medicine or they can do herbal and plants. So yes, there are still many humans that are still close to Mother Earth and are keeping to this. If you go, and anybody can search this out on Google, it takes a little time, but not much. You can go on Google, the information highway, and you will see that the international health journals and write-ups, I think this was 3 to 5 years ago, that still there was over 80% of the human population of 7.434 billion humans that are still using herbs, herbal medicine. That is their first go-to. So the question comes, how can you believe that when you're so programmed and so blinded in a system that we have allowed ourselves to be in? The good news is that people are changing right and left. We're getting busier, and we're not the only ones getting busier. We're not the only ones doing this. So you have the fad of aromatherapy, the good smells, the multi-levels that are after money first, very little education. And then you have the adulterations of like going into Walmart, and I can't even go in there. And many people tell me that with the so-called aromatherapy candles, which is nothing but adulterated chemicals that has nothing to do with the real world of medicinal aromatherapy. So hopefully I've said a couple of things here, but I hope I've defined what your last question was.
Yeah, and on many levels, it's the same. Being a homeopath with a 20-year practice, clinical practice, I saw, as you said, when I started my practice, most people came here after the doctors told them there was no more hope or that they couldn't be on the drug anymore and that was it. Or, they just had tried it and were having side effects. But as towards the end of my practice and even towards the middle, it started changing all along. But towards the end or the middle, more and more were coming first to do homeopathy before they tried the other treatments. So I agree with you. And I think, sadly, a big part of that, especially in America, but probably all over the world, is sometimes people just want a fast fix. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to look inside. So they just, Lloyd and I had a friend that said, well, if I get diabetes, I know they have a drug out there for me. And I'm like, are you serious? I mean, really? That's what somebody's thinking? Don't they understand the debility of that disease, how deep that disease goes, how horrible that drug is? I mean, that's such a horrible attitude because it's like being allowed for them to kill you, but there's a lot of people out there like that. But as you said, the movement is definitely growing. We saw it in homeopathy. We see it in everything. And because the world is getting sicker, then we even have more and more business. And hence why I started this podcast, because I just felt a huge need to focus on education and touch lots of people and not just the people I could in my practice. So I'm glad you clarified that. And I know that there's a lot out there saying you can't take oils internally, but I've done it myself, and I know you need to have a really pure oil, and you also need to know what you're doing. So if you don't know that, then I can see why people say don't do it, because they don't want to take any responsibility for someone getting harmed by some horrible adulterated oil that came from China full with heavy metals. And yes, that's cool that we set that straight, because I know it by all those names, and I didn't know, I know you do medicinal aromatherapy, and I love that because that tells me that you're using it also as earth medicine, which is why I was so interested in your work. Okay, so tell me about the general essence of a tree and why do they make such powerful medicine?
Okay, I love that question. Trees. Well, for starters, they are considered in organic chemistry as well as anthropology to be the oldest species on the surface of Mother Earth, the land surface, not the oceans, but on the land surface. They go back 300-400 million years. When they came, as they told me back when I was in my 40s and doing this on a much smaller scale than today, I asked them, what is the real story here? What is the truth? Because I have always been deep in my heart a seeker for truth. I'm not talking just about the many different truths. This can be good for this person, but it cannot be good for another person. I'm not talking about that level. I'm going up to the very top level of that the sun is the sun, okay? No matter what language you're in, if you're a normal human being And even if we could speak to porpoises or dolphins, or if we could speak to chimpanzees or horses or cows or dogs or cats, everyone understands that that big, white, bright light ball up there is the sun. It's not the moon. It's not some asteroid. And that is a truth. That is a singularity truth. So I was asking him, how can this be? What do you do here, trees? I know you provide beauty. You provide warmth through wood. You provide a protection and habitat through your wood, where there's still wood to be found sustainably. You provide oxygen, because you slough off the oxygen because you breathe in nitrogen as well as all the rest of the plants and trees. You provide so much. And they told me years ago that their greatest joy on whatever planet they are on, whatever dimension they are on up to a certain point, that their joy is to be the medicine for themselves and for every other species on that given planet. So trees are for protection as far as the essential essence, essential oil, as many people still know it here. It is the bark would be armor, would be protection. The heartwood is all about the heart, like sandalwood as a very famous, very expensive essence, rightly so. If it's pure, it's in demand. India, where there's over 1 billion human beings, that is one of their greatest joys is sandalwood. They use it for medicine. They use it for sacred sexuality. They use it for ceremony, from weddings to passing and celebrations and many other types of celebrations. They use it for even governmental celebrations, embarking on new breaking ground projects. I mean, it's just used amazingly. It's used for perfume. And so the heartwood is about the heart. How does this work? How does sandalwood work with the heart, the emotional and spiritual heart? What happens is that in organic chemistry, they have tested, they have researched, and to the best of their understanding of what humanity knows at this moment, and of course there's so much more, there's always so much more that we don't know, as we are remembering that the neurotransmitters that are within the energy structure of the chemical types of chemicals that are within sandalwood, they bond like lock and key to the receivers, the neurotransmitters and receivers that are in the human brain that are emotionally connected to feelings, our heart feelings. And that's the simplest as I can make it. So there's no way that you can continue to use pure sandalwood and not have your heart affected with an incredible amount of love. And that's what pure single essences do. But we're talking about the trees.
Yeah, but that's beautiful, because that's an essence that I have a lot of interest in. I know it's really hard to get and it's very expensive. So that was very cool to learn that.
Yeah. So a tree will give of its roots, it will give of its bark, it will give of its heartwood, it will give of its branches, it will give of its leaves, its needles, and also actually its fruit as well of its flowers. Trees are an unimaginable gift to humanity on so many levels that it is mind-boggling, and you could talk for days just about that.
Wow, that's so amazing. It's interesting because in homeopathy, we can categorize our medicine. Like there's plants, and within the plant kingdom, there's trees and there's vines and whatever. But at the essence of a tree remedy, like a person who needs a tree remedy, they're kind of like alone. They're very wise, but they're kind of these loners in life, and they're quiet, but contemplative. So we learn homeopathy that way too. When you learn each remedy, you kind of learn all, not just the physical symptoms that you use a remedy for, but the mental, emotional state of the patient. Homeopathy is about like cures like. So it's very interesting to hear as a homeopath. I love hearing about plants or trees because I just think of it so differently because I'm a homeopath than most people. So that was really interesting. And I'm curious about the difference of a tree essence, or just not necessarily the medicine coming from it, but just the feeling of a tree in general versus a plant.
So let me say one more thing about trees while
Okay.
we're on that subject. Trees for the indigenous cultures, whether it be the Kogi or the Awako in Peru, the Mayans also up in the mountains of Colombia, the Waitaha in New Zealand, the Maui, the Native Americans here, the Aztecs and the Mayans, like I said, they are always considered wisdom teachers. And you can also find that in the history of the Celts and the Druids, Stonehenge, and on and on and on and on and on, all the way back. The trees have always been the cedars of Lebanon that helped to build the Jewish temple, the Hebrew temple, thousands of years ago. The Egyptians used the cedars of Lebanon. Just an amazing history if you go into it, the study of the migration of the trees and how that it is very much up for the jury who led who throughout the earth when it was first being populated. It really is the trees and plants that led the way. And I have friends in aromatherapy who have 2 and 3 doctorates, and one of the theses that one of them did was on the migration of plants and how it influenced the migration of humanity. When you talk about the influence of the plants and trees, it's off the charts. It's a no-brainer for somebody like me. I have no question that the plants and trees are our guardians on so many levels. So they're wisdom teachers, like for the Navajo Diné and the Hopi up in this area, up in Flagstaff, the Ponderosa pine is considered one of the great grandmothers of wisdom. And she is just an amazing essence as well as an herb. So now going on, the difference. Trees are like the grandmother guardians of the whole earth. They are also considered the sentinels, the major sentinels of how Mother Earth communicates with everything that is beyond her, cosmic-wise. The trees bring in cosmic energy, starlight, moonlight, all that energy. It brings it through photosynthesis and what also happens at night. The plants and trees are no less important, but they are smaller. They are smaller, so they have a more focused importance in relationship to so many things. Respiratory problems that bridge together with like the eucalyptus family for respiratory, which is our tall trees, but they are the many sundry personalities, like we would say the different species that are on our planet. Say like, why do we have ants? They're so small. Well, they aerate the soil. Moles, mice, pack rats. What do? They keep the soil porous. Worms, all those kinds of things. They have a strategic part to play in this whole genre of the plant and tree kingdom. So you have trees, then you have shrubs, then you have smaller bushes like rose bushes, then you have grasses of all kinds. Mm-hmm. And that basically makes it up. Medicinal aromatherapy, the farmers, which we are in such deep gratitude for, because without them, I would be farming. I would still be farming. But I chose to retire from farming, and I understand what they do, but they're the ones that are planting and harvesting and doing it through the concept and perspectives of Rudolf Steiner.
Right, biological,
yeah,
biodynamic, right? Something
biodynamic
like that.
farming, biorhythmic, following the rhythms. And when you find those farmers, they are jewels. They are great pearls of great price. And those are the ones that we work with. There are others, and bless them for what they do, but they are on a different frequency.
When you talk about these farmers, I'm just curious, are you worried about the state of our environment being so toxic? I mean, does it get to the point that even any tree is finally affected in not giving off its medicine?
Well, that's an interesting question and very apropos, Deborah, because what we have found through the years is that if a tree or a plant or even a root, because we get essential oils like vetiver or spikenard, that's all the roots or the rhizomes. If they're sick, believe it or not, a farmer cannot distill them. They will not produce an essence. So there is an automatic, it's like a surge protector, you might say, thinking of the technological industry, that we're in this time of humanity and surging forward. They're like surge protectors. And so a plant has to be healthy in order to actually distill. And so we're not worried about them because Mother Earth is not going anywhere. Humanity has to make and is making some very important choices. And I'm thinking, and my perspective is from the glass half full, not half empty. I choose love, and I'm aware of the other side, but that's not where we put our energy as far as Wisdom of the Earth or us personally, or our family of Wisdom of the Earth, which is all of our teachers and distributors and students and clients around the world. And so we are here to provide love. So as far as being worried, we're not worried at all. Is there any problems? Of course there's problems. But the problem would be that the tree, out of love for humanity in its own way, chooses to pass over, and there is no more use of that tree. And they have not gone anywhere. They've just ascended and transcended to another dimension until things are completely changed here, and all of that will come back and even more. So that's where I stand. It's not what I'm concerned about, and what we have to deal with on a regular basis is the unbelievable superiority of humanity and total lack of ignorance, and I would say lack of intelligence because of waddling around in the fear paradigm instead of love, and then doing things that does not create good medicine, even if it's from the plants and trees. They adulterate it. They try to mess with it chemically because they love to do things that they have no idea what they're doing, and causing all kinds of primary effects, which is the new term. It's the new term on the block. It used for years and years, it was side effects, but I've been written to by several MDs that we work with, and it is slowly changing, but in some communities very fast. Pharmaceuticals of any kind do not use the terminology of side effects anymore. It is called primary effects. And so that's what I'm concerned about, and that's what we have to deal with all the time.
Time for your break, so be sure to get a drink and move around a little. And while you do that, I just want to say thank you to all of you that are using that Amazon banner. You guys that are new, if you're interested in giving back to the show, you can click on the Amazon banner at the vidalspeaks.com website and just bookmark it and put it on that browser bar for your future. And whenever you buy from Amazon, they send me a little commission at no cost to you. I appreciate you guys that are doing that. Thanks so much. And next, I just want to tell you how important it is for reviews. So if you feel inspired, you know what you can do, right? Last week's show on mystery illness had so many listens, which tells me how many of you out there are either suffering from some kind of mystery syndrome or how many people you know that are like this. Sad, but I'm so happy that many of you have heard this one, and I ask you to pass it on if you know anybody that has a mystery syndrome or a mystery symptom of any kind. It's a really good one to pass on to help people. Lastly, I want to tell you guys, because I don't think I ever did, that the show has been accepted in iHeartRadio, so you can listen from there now. But also you can listen from most podcast places like Stitcher and many more. If you can't find the show, because I had someone email me this week that they couldn't find it on Stitcher or anywhere, just be sure that you put Vidal Speaks all as one word. It's kind of crazy that when you put it in as two words, it won't come up. Sigh. It's a bummer, but I think you need to put it in as one word, but at least try it both ways, okay? The precision of computers. Also, you guys, to make it easier for you, I'm going to upgrade my service soon, and I'm going to buy a Vidal Speaks app so you can have it on your Android phone or your iPhone. I think it'll be great because it's just going to make it so much easier for all of you. And you're worth it to me. Did I tell you that before? I love you guys. Okay, let's get back to the show now. Here we go. What about just all the destruction of the trees being farmed and all our forests being lost? I mean, is it making it harder to get some of these oils?
Yes and no, because the farmers that are awake, and they're getting more and more awake worldwide, they are putting forth sustainable practices because they know that if this is their livelihood, Deborah, it would be totally not cool to destroy their very livelihood. Yeah, you hear about this and that, and then people get on their soapbox and their bandwagon. One of the most famous ones that people write about and complain about is rosewood, which is an amazing heartwood essence, just amazing. But the truth of the matter is that humans have been using her for a couple of centuries, more than a few more than that, of using it for all types of lumber and for wood stock, lamp stock, musical instruments. And so, yeah, the big corporations who are totally those that are still asleep, they take without giving back.
Right.
And that's one of the big things,
That's what I was meaning.
But there's a big turnaround in that. If you look on alternative medicine, you watch the things, even in the Amazon, the indigenous prime minister of Ecuador or President Morales, he's from the indigenous people there. There is a massive turnaround, much to the chagrin of the corporate America and corporate international corporations. Is it going as fast as what you and I might desire it to? No. But is it happening? Is there a turn? Absolutely, there's a turnaround. And that's what I choose to express to people. And if you're looking for it, if you're still in that fix that, everything is pessimistic and that's your life, then really that's a problem that you and I have to deal with first. Because we're not going to see, just like that movie years ago, What in the Bleep Do We Know? If you remember that, the shamans were the only ones that saw the white men in their ships coming through. The common people, they couldn't see it. They couldn't see the trees for the wood, so to speak. And that's the way it is with any human being today in the U.S., as one example. If you're totally still choosing to waddle around in a fear paradigm, first within your own life, it's going to be very hard for you to really even become interested or curious into things that are actually turning around.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, let's talk about some essences. Maybe since you talked a little bit about sandalwood, I would just like to ask you, is there any condition that sandalwood is used for that's like a chronic disease, or is it a mental emotional because it's a heartwood, as you were saying? Is there something more you could tell us about sandalwood? And then I'd like you to talk about a few other essences.
Okay. Well, let's create a foundation here first.
Okay.
For everything physical in the plant and tree kingdom world, shamanically, there is also an emotional and spiritual counterpart. For everything emotional in the plant and tree kingdom world of essential essences and pure herbs, there is always a physical and spiritual counterpart. For everything spiritual in the essential essence world, there is also an emotional and physical counterpart. So it's all three happening simultaneously at the same time when they're pure. You cannot escape it. It's going to happen. I'll give you an example. Jasmine, pure jasmine flowers, which is not all that rare, but very highly prized and very, very valuable. We, as an example, have two jasmine. We have one from India, Jasminium officinalis grandiflorium Sambak meaning Vedic for holy, which has a very feminine energy. And then we have the jasmine from Egypt, which is very masculine, very pungent. Both of those jasmines, emotionally and spiritually, will bring up anger like nobody's business if you are not aware of it and you're not willing to work on it. It will love you so much when you put it and get it into your bloodstream that it will bring that up for you to do your work for healing. That's both spiritually and emotionally. Emotional anger as well as spiritual anger. On the physical side, jasmine, the counterpart of that, is working on those parts of the body that are most susceptible to years of anger, like your heart, as an example. Louise Hayes, her book on none of these diseases. I'm sure some of the listeners know of that. If you go in and look at what anger can do, anger is also about the liver.
Right.
Jasmine is a liver detoxer. Okay, so let's go back to sandalwood. Sandalwood is the heartwood of the tree. The heartwood can be in the roots because the roots of sandalwood can be very, very big. And they don't desire to kill unless they're not trying to kill the sandalwood. It takes 30-some years from a sapling to the time it can be harvested. Can you imagine trying to live without, what kind of income are you going to have? You have to have alternative income. It takes 30 to 40 years before the first harvest. Can you understand why the cost, just from that alone, why there is a cost involved? It could be $1,000 for 15 ml, and there would be people that would not do something else in their lives, and they would buy it because of what it has done for them in their lives, just so you know. But it's not $1,000 at this point, but it's still $200-300 for 15 ml pure. Okay, so you have the heartwood. Again, it's about the heart, self-love, self-forgiveness, self-compassion. That is what sandalwood does on emotional and spiritual. Physically, she is highly antiviral. She had a mentor one time who is a PhD organic chemist, and he told me, and the class, not just me, that if the American people would know more about just what sandalwood would do, there would be absolutely zero STDs in this country, sexually transmitted diseases.
That's an incredible statement.
Yeah, it's an incredible statement, and it's true. It's a huge physical aphrodisiac. Of course, emotionally, it's about the heart. Spiritually, it's about the heart. It's about love, Deborah. It's about pure spiritual love. And she is also known in Australia, India, as one of the greatest wisdom teachers, like the Hopi and the Diné feel that Ponderosa pine is. She is very, very ancient, and she has a oral tradition that goes back thousands of years, beyond even Egypt. We're talking about tens of thousands of years through oral tradition, all the way back to the Sumerians and beyond that, before that, way before the flood. And so sandalwood is not about the leaves or the flowers, even though they're beautiful. The essential essence of sandalwood has to do with the heartwood. Now, if you take a eucalyptus, which is one of the greatest givers for humanity for respiratory diseases on every level, from asthma, wet or dry asthma, to emphysema, to black lung, to all the flus and bronchial, all over the place, from all those different levels. The eucalyptus is not the wood. It is the leaves, which is the breathing apparatus of all trees, is the leaves. And so it's the leaves that are distilled and produce this amazing medicine for respiratory problems. And our forte is many sisters of the same species. So for us, we have like 9 different species of eucalyptus trees that we work with. And somebody could ask, well, why do we do that? Because like you, if you have sisters or brothers, or the listeners have sisters or brothers, they all have their different personalities. They could all have the same last name of Smith, but everybody is an individual.
Right. And what about when you were talking about the jasmine? So you were saying how it brings out the anger. So if a person had a lot of anger, would that be a good remedy to give them? And what are the physical symptoms of jasmine?
Absolutely. Well, any essence, that's their gift. And our clientele today, 98% of all the business we do is for humans who are awake or are awakening, and they have been told by their inner heart that the plant and tree medicine will help them with their spiritual and emotional work that they must do. And so that's why they use them. And for jasmine, jasmine will just shower so much love upon you that it is an ally for helping you to clear that anger that you have. It could be anger from domestic abuse from your parents. It could be anger from being fired from a job. It could be past life anger. Physically, I mentioned before also that jasmine has to do with detoxifying and aiding the health and harmony of the liver and the heart, because that's where anger gets blocked up. The greatest toxicity for all the listeners, if you don't know this already, dear ones, the greatest toxicity for humanity is emotional toxicity. You can rant and I can rant and rave from now to the time we leave this planet on all the pollution. And yes, we have done a number. We are the ones that we have been waiting for, not only to remember what we have done, and it's like the old adage, be stupid and ask for forgiveness later. That's the modus operandum of humanity that chooses to walk around and waddle around in the fear paradigm all the time, and which also is the catalyst for the superiority and separation from all the other species that are still living in harmony as much as they possibly can. We're the ones that chose and have that opportunity to not be in harmony. So the issue here is that we can choose to live in harmony, come back and reconnect, and not be in fear of all the other species, because they're not in fear of us. They're just hoping, in human language, they're just sending us loving energy all the time. So jasmine is also very, very famous amongst the opera singers in Eastern Western Europe when they would go out and they would be working with laryngitis or throat problems. They would take it and put it into their throat, pure jasmine, and it will knock out laryngitis in so fast of a time during an intermission that they can go back out and finish their opera.
Wow.
It's very, very famous in opera singers in the Eastern Europe and also in Asia.
Oh, I love the way that you teach and just talk about your essences. That's so beautiful. So tell us about another one. You pick one. I love this.
Oh, I have so many. I love them all. Let's do one. Okay, so a very prominent, we talked about the heart dis-ease. We'll just leave that. There's so many that are gifts to humanity for heart disease. Let's talk about cancer, which is actually a virus. And the first thing I would tell anybody that's listening, before I say anything more, if you can give them the link at some time, Deborah, to Ty Bowenger's 9 episodes on the truth about cancer.
Yes, I've posted that before, so I can do it again.
Yeah, very, very. I mean, we're not talking about just MDs. We're talking about scientists and MDs from all over the world talking about the disaster and the unbelievable lie of chemo and radiation from the get-go.
Yeah, most of my listeners are very familiar with that because I've had a few of them on my show, those doctors, and lots of patients that have used their work to heal.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's just talk about one famous essence of all time for both spiritual and emotional diseases as well as cancer, and that is none other than beautiful, the Deva frankincense.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, frankincense is one of many, but it's so well known. Again, if you take a look at the habitat that she's willing to reside in, it's some of the most hardest, austere climates in the world, the desert. And she grows and sustains herself, so she is a powerhouse as far as antiviral. You can use whatever words you want: antifungal, antiparasitical, anti-cancer, anti-tumoric, tumor, anti-tumor, all of those kinds of things. And then how is it that we get frankincense? The natives bleed the tree without killing her. She gifts us with her very sap, which for us is the blood resin, like the blood of our bodies. And it cakes up even blood from the human body. You know, if you bleed out a lot, if sad how when people really get injured, it coagulates. Well, frankincense, in that sense, coagulates into blocks, and then it has to be taken to a distiller who is gifted and knowledgeable how to distill it properly to get the beautiful essence of frankincense. And so frankincense is all about, first of all, because we always start there, it's all about opening up the channels of our constricted spiritual antennas and our God consciousness, and opening up that channel again to our higher self, our angels, our guides, our spiritual guides, and then coming down through our chakras and going out from there. And of course, that is going to activate our physicality, first our emotional body, and then our physicality, and goes to those places of concern if you're going to be taking it internally. And if you're doing it physically, it can be either for internal cancer or surface cancer through topical application. It's just beyond amazing. And it is one of the it is our biggest, I would say right now within all of humanity, it is one of the all-time gifts to humanity. There is more frankincense, whether adulterated or pure, being sold on the planet right now than anything. It's our biggest mover. It's unbelievable the amount of frankincense that goes out our door every day.
And you know, I've used frankincense in my practice, and I used it on my cat last year. He suddenly grew this strange tumor on his head, and I literally just put a drop on a Q-tip, and he smelled it coming and ran, but I was able to just touch the tumor. Like, that's all I could get. And every time he saw me, he would run. So I really couldn't get another drop on. And 3 months later, you could just see it eating it away. And in 3 months, it was totally gone. And that was with one drop, not even repeating it. It's so fantastic. And I've used it on skin cancers. It's great.
Let's just leave the listeners with something here to remember. All pure single essences have these one-liners attached to them. Every pure single essence in one way or another is an immune stimulant. Every pure single essence in one way or the other is antibacterial. Every pure single essence in one way or another helps to oxygenate the body or the surroundings if you're diffusing it into the air. We have people that want to come into our reception room here outside of Sedona, Arizona, and all they wanted to do, can I just come in and stand and smell? Can I just come in and just breathe? Then the fourth one-liner is that every pure single essence in some way or another is what in medical terms is called adaptogenic. They adapt to the desired effect at hand. There are so many essences through history that are known, like eucalyptus, to be for respiratory. But there are other essences that can adapt to help an individual when you don't have that. Really, the plants and trees are, for all intents and purposes, for the lack of a better word, they're both magical and miraculous. But not really. What I mean to say by magical and miraculous is they do the do. They are true healers. And we have to remember that our physical body is on loan and gifted to us by Gaia, by Sophia, here. So really, if you look in the research in organic chemistry, there's only like just a couple of DNA differences, just a change of a chromosome here or there, if I'm saying that right, between a spruce tree and a human being. It's almost unbelievable how close just that switch and you become a human being versus a spruce tree.
Wow, that's very cool. And I have a request from a listener that asked me, and I wonder if you could suggest. They asked me, is there a special essence to help get rid of a negative energy of a person that they feel is stuck on them?
Absolutely. One of the most famous families in the whole world, and I'm talking about the whole world, that I said way back in the beginning, 80% of the human population still uses plants, herbs, and essences.
Mm-hmm.
The sage family is the number one go-to family for purging yourself, your surroundings, your home, your loved ones from negative energy of all levels.
And I know that people burn sage, and I know that he's done that. So would it be wise for him to diffuse it and maybe even take it internally?
Yes, some people cannot. I mean, the smudging is wonderful, but because some people have problems with smoke, allergies, and they're previous smokers, we call it smudge in a bottle. We have the sage that we have as the essence, and we will put it on their third eye. We will put it on their throats, over their heart. We will let them smell it and breathe it in, and then smudge the whole body with our hands when we do ceremony. And taking it internally, yes, you, of course, should absolutely have an aromatherapist that is educated in this. This is not something that you just do willy-nilly. One drop for someone who has never tried it before is absolutely not going to hurt anyone. I mean, we've never come across anyone that's ever had a problem, but if you're an alcoholic and you're already on drugs, both pharmaceutical, psychotropic, as well as entertainment, and you're filled up with drugs, then you want to be very, very careful because the essences, because they're going to go right for the jugular, they're going to go to try to harmonize. Essences are about harmony.
Mm-hmm.
They're not about having, if you have high blood pressure, this one, the old understanding was, well, if you have high blood pressure, you use this essence. If you have low, you bring it up, you use this. Of all the years that I've been doing this now, and the science and the studies that are coming out, in truth, actually, pure single essences are all about harmony. If it's low blood pressure, it will bring it up to a harmonized level. If it's high, it will bring it down. That's what they do. So sage true or garden sage is of the sage family. Sage clary, which is very much also, all of these are for hormonal issues, also for both men and women. Your smudging sages that are the most famous in the sage family are your sage white, Salvia apiana, which is found in California. Very rare, but yet still, growing, but rare from the standpoint that a lot of people know about it. And so more and more people are awakening and using this for their own spiritual work, as well as sage brush, which is also known out here in the Southwest as purple sage.
Yeah, I know that plant very well. And I have a plant I wanted to ask you, or an essence that I don't know about. And I don't even know if I'm going to say it right, but it's like, it starts with a V. Is it like Velvedere or something like that? You sell it, I think.
You're talking about vetiver?
Vetiver, yes.
Vetiver, yes.
Can you just tell me a little bit? Because I'm curious. I've recently come across that like 3 times, and I'm just wondering why I keep coming across it. So can you tell me a little bit about that one?
Sure. Vetiver is a very, very famous essence in India. It's also in other countries like Haiti. We support the farmers in Haiti, our black brothers and sisters. They do such a beautiful job. Vetiver is the root of the vetiver grass. It is a huge grass that will grow, 10 to 15 feet tall. But the roots is what is used at this time. And the roots sometimes will go down 20 as much as 30 feet in the ground, Deborah. So it is all about purification, protection. It is what I and my wife and so many of our family within Wisdom of the Earth, WOTE, we call ourselves WOTEs, W-O-T-E for acronym. We use it as our deodorant. Years and years ago, I let go of any artificial chemical And I'll tell you the most horrible story. When I was in massage school back in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 18, 19 years ago, I went to one of our classes, physiology. We went to the Cadaver Museum in Philadelphia at the osteopathic hospital. And in there, they gave us a great gift. They showed us how many of these lung cancer patients, their lungs had turned all green. And the green was from the chemicals of years and years of chemical deodorants.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I started crying because I'm not afraid to cry as a male. And I just could not believe that humans could do that to one another, is again, just whatever, doing things and then asking forgiveness later. And of course, when are we going to stop with aluminum and any type of deodorant that is not healthy? When are we going? It's all over the world.
I know, and it's 2017, really?
Yeah, exactly. Really, really. Come on.
I have a very specific question because I wonder what it means, or if you think it has any meaning, if someone has an aversion to an essence.
That means they absolutely are chemically imbalanced and should start at the bottom of their feet and use it. And usually within 6 or 8 weeks, their whole body will harmonize and they will come back. And if they're really doing their work, they'll probably even shed tears because they won't believe it themselves that what they once couldn't stand, now they have fallen in love with it.
Interesting. That's what I thought it was going to be. It means that you need it. But I'm just curious because, smells are so powerful and some people love the smell of something, say like ylang.
Ylang-a-lang? Uh-huh.
Lang-a-lang, that's like an odor that seems like it's so powerful, but it's also one that people don't like. And some love it.
Let me just input something here. Many of the essences are specifically about doing your self-love work. And if you are still choosing, with no judgment here, to totally stay asleep in amnesia as to who you really are, a magnificent sovereign being of divine love, that is what we all are, then any essence like a lang-a-lang or rose and many others, you will just go into a hissy fit with yourself and say, I can't stand it, get it away from me, and we see this happen thousands of times. I cannot tell you how many times. I'll give you a quick story. Do we have time for a quick story?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I had a Native American shaman lady in her 60s. This was about 6 years ago, come from California and had heard about us. So she comes into our tester bar where we have 268 essences plus pure single. And she says, it's amazing in here, but I have to tell you, do not open a bottle of eucalyptus. I have such an aversion to this. And it makes me angry and I can't stand it and it makes me sick and so forth. So I just looked at her, and she was a little bit younger than me. And so I said, sister, what do you think that's about? She says, I don't know. I could tell her male energetics was coming up. Don't
test me.
Yeah, don't test me. So anyway, all the other essences were just permeating the room. And so she didn't detect eucalyptus and I didn't dare open it up. I had 9 of them there because I told you that previous,
Right.
And so finally I said, what do you think it is? And we were talking about different things because she had a practice and her love was to help share and help other people in their work and their baggage and their tapes and so forth and get back into self-love. And I can't remember the essence that she loved that she pulled off. And all of a sudden, she just broke down and started crying. And so my wife was there and a couple of others. So we just gathered around her and hugged her, and her friend was there with her. And she's saying, oh my God, I know why I hate eucalyptus. I know why I hate eucalyptus. It's like if nothing more, she came to the reception room, to the testers, to have a big aha.
Right.
And to make a long story short, here is the punchline. She revealed to everybody there that she remembers that she had been raped up against a eucalyptus tree when she was 18 years old
Wow.
in California. And what
Wow.
had happened was that she blocked off what had really happened, and she projected all the negativity and blame on eucalyptus. And she had been living that from her early 60s since she was 18.
Wow. That's a great story.
So
Incredible.
there you go.
Cool. Okay, if people don't have any oils and they want to start, and you obviously know they have to buy some small amounts at a time, could you recommend like what you think would be 6 oils that would be best to start with?
Oh, wow. I thought you were just going to say one. That was really going to be hard.
Right. That's why I thought 6,
Okay.
because it gives you a little kit.
Okay, so we have 10 different subspecies of lavender, but what we call lavender fine would be a wonderful one to start out with for relaxation, insomnia, learning more about the many different layers of love that Source has in the universe that we live in, and even on this planet. A second one would be laurel leaf. It starts with an L. Laurel leaf is one of the most famous essences for the queen, as a queen of the lymphatic system. But emotionally and spiritually, she is all about giving us courage to face our fears. She very much is about courage and bravery that all of us have to have in this day and age on whatever level we're working with. We have to be willing to open up our throat chakra and speak our truth and not be trampled over because of the voices of pressure from the family or this or that or the other. So laurel leaf would be one. Another one would be the mint family, like a simple peppermint from the U.S., which is a wonderful one. We call it U.S. balance because it is balanced, both masculine and feminine. Many of them are not. Many of them are more just feminine or masculine, energetic. That would be for anti-inflammatory. That would be for fevers. That would be for menopause, the change of life in men. It would be for menopause. Just any number of things, but that would be one of the 6. A respiratory one would be starting out with one of the mildest eucalyptus that we use for children as well as adults, and that's eucalyptus mint is the nickname. It has not got mint in it, but it smells, it has chemotypes. It's a nickname. A lot of the essences have nicknames in English. So it's actually Eucalyptus dives. The Latin name is Dives, but the nickname is mint, M-I-N-T.
Okay, that's
That's
4.
4, okay. Another one is all the stomach problems that people have. The basil family is wonderful for that, and that would be like basil sweet would be one. We have 4 different basils: basil sweet, basil holy. Basil sweet and basil holy both are from India. They're different subspecies of the basil family. We also have 2 others, but let's just either of those 2.
Okay.
And the last one would be moving stuck energy. We call it the Harry Potter essence because it sounds like it, and that's the famous mugwort. Mugwort. And that's also for pulled muscles, pulled tendons, pulled cartilage, but it's also for stuck energy, energetic stuckness. And so those would be some really, really good ones for the medicine cabinet.
Great. And if people want to learn more from you, I know you have a couple books. Can you tell them your books and about your teaching, or if you offer classes, or let us know about that?
Okay. So the best thing to do is to go on our large educational website called wisdomoftheearth.com. And at the top on the toolbar are many different places that you can click. If you click on the events page, it will bring down all the many different classes from the East Coast to Japan that are going on between now and the end of the year. We had about 50 up, and there's still more coming for the end of the year. And you can peruse down there. When you find one that is of interest, click on underneath the date double click or one click, depending upon your computer system, and it will open up to what we call an expansion page and give you all the details and the teacher to contact, the email, the telephone number, whatever is there. If you would like to look at, we just updated it, so there's some glitches that we're working out. If you would like to look at our newsletter information, we have numerous educational newsletters, both email and snail mail, that are up on the website. We also have videos and we also have audio. We have over 70 hours of audio. The books, that would be my 2 books, the reference guide book, as well as the Wisdom of the Earth Speaks the Truth About Medicinal Aromatherapy. Both of those books you can actually order online, and you go through PayPal. That's online. The third book, which is a collaboration of myself, my wife, and my business partner, is called Voices of Light and Voices of Love. That just came out in August of this past year, and that is a collection of level 1 certified students that are required to pick an essence to write on, giving us, most important, their emotional and spiritual experience with the essence that they chose. And so these stories are amazing stories of life-changing experiences of about 19 of the 262 essences that we work with. And we collected these over the thousands of papers that we've had over the last 20 years, and that is a collection of those stories. And
Wow, that's beautiful.
yes, it is a very, very wonderful book.
Lovely. And do you guys ever do any Facebook page or Twitter that you want to tell people your name if you do, or is it strictly mostly on your website?
Mostly on the website. There are some of our teachers, and I can't tell you that information, that do have, but I think it's more of closed caption.
Yeah.
It's not open. I personally am not one that's into Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so busy doing what I'm doing, but
know, it's hard.
yes.
Okay, well, I just first want to just thank you so much for taking so much time. It's been great learning experience and so interesting. And I just wonder if you want to leave the listeners with any thought of whatever you feel like saying.
Well, yes, the end is LOVE. At the end of the day, the plants and trees, as well as our own deep hearts, will celebrate that the only thing that is really true is love, and that all of us come originally from love. We may have picked 500 lifetimes on a polarity type planet surface like this, where we're constantly choosing between fear and love. But trust me, if you get to know the trees and plants, they will re-educate you and help you to remember who you really are, and that all there really is love, dear ones. And I will leave you with that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Barry, that's so nice. And it's been so wonderful to talk to you and just hear all your stories and your wisdom. Really, it's about wisdom. So I now know why it's Wisdom of the Earth. That's a perfect name. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
You're welcome, and love to all of you.
Thank you. So you guys, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I just want to say, isn't it amazing to learn about the essence of a tree and how that tree has so much medicine for all of us? Now do you see why we need to take care about our trees, our air, and our environment, and we need to worry about all we're doing to the environment? Because nature is our medicine, and we can't or won't live without them. As Reese would say, it's our only home. So save nature and do all you can to help protect it. Trees and plants are our medicine, and we all have so much healing to do. We'll speak more next week, okay, you guys? But I hope you enjoyed the show today, my podcast family. You must know what time it is. It's time to say goodbye. Vidal has spoken. Remember, you heal with a plant-powered diet, homeopathy, and detoxing, of course. Peace. Be healthy. Be free. Live life.